So glad that you are here. You are here and you are supposed to be here and you are in the right place and something will come of this. I promise you. Let's pray. God, we are so grateful to be in the presence of your people. Because we are in the presence of your people, we are reminded, God, that you are everywhere. And we are reminded that no circumstance can get in the way of us experiencing your beautiful Spirit. And so we call upon your Spirit now. May she come, whisper words of love and beauty and truth to each and every one of us. We come from different places, having driven to get here from jobs and situations. And God, we take a breath now and we say, come, Spirit, come. Invade our lives and our hearts and our thoughts. May we be filled to the point where, as Chris so eloquently prayed, that nothing outside can enter in because we are so full of your love. May it be so in the name of Jesus. Amen. So we are in 21 Days of Thanks. I was not here last week. I was on vacation. You'll hear a little bit about it. And tonight our verse is from 1 Thessalonians 5:18. I think we have a slide of it. I'm hoping. Isn't my outfit cute while we're waiting? My goal is to look good and feel comfortable, and I've succeeded in at least feeling comfortable, whatever you think about it. 1 Thessalonians 5:18, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Give thanks in all circumstances. I know what you're thinking. Really, all circumstances? Really, God? All circumstances. Give thanks. What we're talking a little bit about tonight is what it means to live in a world full of complaining and difficulty and realities of life, and yet how is it in the midst of that we can still be people who give thanks? Complaining is a destructive habit, but we all do it. Raise your hand if you complained even once today. I did it. I did it putting my microphone on before I came out here. And my hair gets in the way in the microphone. I was like, oh my goodness. So sometimes a sermon is for the pastor, and so you just get to hear along when you're here. So we talk about it. We talk about complainers. Complainers are sort of when and then people, as I like to describe it. So they like to be, when this happens, then I'll be happy. You ever said that? Right? When that happens, then I'll be grateful, right? But when and then doesn't work because there's always a what? A new then, a new when. There's always something else that will keep us from realizing that actually now is the only moment we have. And so before that, of course, the verses in Thessalonians are rejoice. It's a really popular verse you probably hear a lot. Rejoice always, pray continually, and give thanks, right? For that is the will of God. And so, of course, I would do it. I was going to talk about the people of Thessalonica. Can I do that for a second? We want to know the context of this scripture. This is a letter written by Paul, we believe, to a specific church at the capital of Roman province of Macedonia. Right? You're taking notes, write it down. Everyone's Googling the map of that. Neil might be there soon, right? He's going to Israel, that area. Paul's letter is friendly and encouraging. Everyone loves Thessalonians letters because they are friendly and encouraging. This was actually, as it turns out, a very relatively healthy church, right? Some of the letters that you read from Paul, you're like, that church, I don't know what they're doing, but Paul is not happy with them. But this is not one of those letters. Paul's pretty happy with these people. He opens the letter giving thanks, recognizing they're doing a great job of following what he calls the way, right? The way of Jesus. But he sees, because he is Paul, and he's been there, that there's some trouble brewing under the surface, right? Some confusion about when and then, some confusion about when the end time will be and when Christ will return, which is why Thessalonians has some of the challenging verses about the end times, right? Will be taken away and some of that stuff. That's a whole other sermon. Woo, I could get into that though, but no, we're not going to do that tonight. They are confused. They are like, so we were told that Christ was coming again, right? And there's a resurrection, and yet all of our friends are dying, and I don't see Jesus. So they're very confused. They think, as much of the early church did, right? That Jesus, the Christ, was coming back in their lifetime, right? And so they were very, very confused. And so I think some of their motivation for being the very good church that they were was they were thinking in their head, when Christ returns, then we will get our reward and we will be happy. And so I think he sees them complaining in little ways about who they are and what is happening, right? They're so focused on this theology, this concern, this worry, that they're not seeing the bigger picture. And what I want to tell you is that anytime you are struggling with something, whether it's a situation or a friendship or a relationship or a person or a job or whatever situation you find yourself in, you really only have two options of a response personally, right? Because you can't control those situations sometimes. Do we believe that? Right? We think we can and we cannot. But you can control your reaction to those things. There's two ways that you can respond. You can either respond by complaining, and that's this. I'm going to complain. And what does that do to your body? Do you see what I'm doing? I'm hiding, I'm going in. Or you can be open and grateful, right? Doesn't mean the situation's great, doesn't mean the situation changed at all. So it's either this, and you sit on the outside of life, or you spread yourself open and say, okay, God, I'm going to figure this out, and you're going to help me, God. And so I think what Paul is encouraging the church in Thessalonica to do is to remind themselves that they have a purpose. And the purpose isn't to figure out when the end times is going to come. The purpose isn't to see a specific theology through to the end. The purpose is for them to find joy, to pray without ceasing, and to be grateful when? In all circumstances. Because I think that gratitude grounds us in a reality of life. Gratitude grounds us. Gratitude helps us see the world in a different way, right? Have you ever noticed that complainy, angry, grumbly people see the world in a very specific way? Do you see that on social media too, where you sort of look and you go, how do they think that? Why do they think that? Because they've been doing this a long time, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And they haven't been open to hearing other perspectives, other people, what God is going to do with all of this. And so I think what's also interesting is that this should be a challenge for those of us who want to understand a little bit about what God's will is. Think about the ways you've prayed about God's will. Usually, and my guess would be, that you've prayed about God's will as like, God, what is your will in this situation? And what you mean is, God, resolve this. Or, where's the next step going to be that I should take? Should I go here or should I go here? And hopefully there'll be an arrow in my dream, right, when I pray about it that night. What's interesting, though, and challenging for us is that most of the time when we hear about God's will, it actually is talking about an attitude of our heart. Not changing the circumstance. God's will is for us to rejoice, to pray continually, and to be thankful always. Because I think gratitude changes us. There's actually been studies done that actually says gratitude changes the chemistry of our brains. Gratitude changes us. It makes us very different people, the people that God has called us to be. And I actually think every time we're challenged to do something difficult, and I am not at all brushing over the fact that having a difficult circumstance and then being asked to be grateful for it is easy or fun or good or however you want to feel about it. But what I will tell you is, if you are able to open yourself up in that situation and find something to be grateful for, what you are doing is experiencing God more deeply in that situation. And not only that, but you are revealing God to yourself, right? And so I think it's very important. So I went on vacation. Sorry, I'm going to skip a little part of it. God's working. It's going to be okay. I went on vacation, as you know, this past week. And I was in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was visiting a couple friends. The second half of my trip, I'll talk about this Sunday at the 9/11 o'clock service. # come join me. But the first part of my vacation, I was with two of my closest friends that I've known since 1993. Some of you weren't born. Don't even say it. Don't even look at me. Don't. I was roommates with them. So John and Shannon Woolner, who are my closest friends, we decided that we were poor in Pasadena and we wanted a nice apartment. So we got a big group of people to rent a fancy apartment in Pasadena and had the most fun 2 years I've ever had rooming with someone. And we used to love messing with people. At the time, John and I, her husband, were interns at a very conservative, evangelical, sort of puritanical church. And so we loved messing with people, right? So Shannon was pregnant, and they were married, obviously, and we weren't messing with them that much. But we would go somewhere, and they knew John and I weren't married, and John would be like, yeah, when Erin and I were sitting on the couch last night at 11 watching, The Tonight Show, it was so funny. Oh, have you met my wife Shannon? We're pregnant. He would blow people's minds. It would just be so funny. He would think and everyone would be like, so you were with her? I'm confused. We're roommates. Get over it. So the first part of the week was spent with my two very good friends. And what I want to tell you about Shannon is that she's probably one of my favorite people in the whole world. And I wasn't going to say this, but it's just interesting for me to think through the idea that we are trying and thinking and processing what it means to be grateful with the video that came on in all circumstances, even difficulty. My friend Shannon has gone through cancer. It has completely changed and wrecked her body. She is the most beautiful person you'll ever want to see, but she can't eat half the stuff she did. She has to take a nap every day, so she can't hold down a job, right? And she is without a doubt one of the most beautiful people you will ever meet. Grateful to the core, giving to the core, gloriously, wonderful to the core. And I've told some of you the story. I haven't visited them for a while because I usually go to Los Angeles, that's where I'm from. And so it's hard to kind of afford to go to all, visit people. And so I sort of thought in my head, I'll try to go visit them. She didn't know that. We text every, couple weeks, but she didn't know I was coming. And so it turns out that the morning that I was going to text her, she was at a secondhand used store. She's great about, she's super creative. She buys things she's the opposite of me. She's creative, she cooks, she's wonderful. And so she was looking through some old mugs, and there was one of those old anthropology mugs from years ago that have letters on it, and she found an E, a coffee mug. And she said, I'm going to get this. And John said, why are you getting that? She said, because Erin's going to come visit. And 2 hours later, I texted her. She had no idea. I was like, I'm going to come visit. She's like, I knew it. So those of you who were on Instagram and Facebook with me, you saw that mug, right? She still has it for when I come visit. She makes coffee for me because she knows what love is. Love is coffee in the morning and wine at night. And I had a great time with them because they are the people that know me the best. And I can be myself with, and I can be real with. And she is, as you can imagine, one of these beautifully spiritual people. And John is right now he's the interim pastor of a church, not where they live. And I can actually speak freely about this church because they will never Google this church. They don't know, yeah. They're very conservative, older congregation, lots of money. So there's something beautiful about being an older, dying congregation with lots of money. It can be beautiful and freeing, or it can be terrible and horrible. He's an interim pastor, and it's terrible and horrible. He's having a lot of difficulty. And so the older members who have been there for a long time are struggling sort of giving up the things that they like and the things that they want. They are finding this circumstance of change, and they are not finding gratitude in it, right? They are not finding gratitude in it. They refuse to give up. And the thing that right now that they're at war with is the idea of the choir, okay? So let me start before I get any email complaints. I love our choir. I love a good choir. This is not a good choir at his church. It is not a good choir. It is people who are trying to hold on to this memory of what used to be that doesn't exist anymore. It's this idea that they're not seeing what is really happening. There's young families coming in the church. They just hired this wonderful new worship pastor who would do the most amazing modern worship for them. And they want a choir. Let me tell you how bad it is. Their choir is so old that their only tenor, a couple weeks ago, when they don't have a choir loft, they hobble up onto the chancel. I don't know how to say this. This is the story. It's not long. This is the story I was telling Michael about. He crapped his pants. I don't know how to say it any other way. Up in front of this whole group of people, and he was their only tenor, and he had to hobble off, and they're trying to help him. And I'm not saying that, incontinent people cannot be in choir. Do not hear me saying that. Do not hear me saying that. What I'm saying is that, and I'm confident telling the story, that unless this man has a gay grandchild, they will never and ever hear this story. That they're not realizing what's happening in the world right now. They're doing this. But I want my choir. I want my stuff. I want my things. This is my thing. This is what happens. And I so understand that, right? Change is hard. Can I get an amen that change is hard? Change is hard. But sometimes the hardest things are the best things, right? And so they're not wanting, they're sitting there. And so, John is having to kind of pry it open a little bit. And that's what interims are for, kind of doing that difficulty. And I think what's interesting, though, is to me it doesn't matter if a church has a choir or not has a choir. What matters to me is what kind of music is leading the worship for the congregation. What kind of music is it? And the choir is not good. They don't enjoy really doing it. Their only tenor, isn't there half the time and shouldn't be there half the time, right? And they stand up front and they're just doing it for themselves. And at one time, I'm sure the choir was amazing. And they're living in this moment that doesn't exist anymore. And so they're in a crossroads. They're in a circumstance, and they have to figure out where they're going to go from here. And as I said, they have two ways to respond, don't they? They have this, or they have, okay, God, come on. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to see your work. And I think it's struggling. There's a lot of change happening in not only that church, but other churches. And I think one of the things that they're forgetting to do is to be grateful. And what I mean by that is I actually believe gratitude changes the world around us. I think it's a spiritual sort of mysterious thing that you can't quantify, right? But when you're grateful for something, you're able to see it for what it is. And then you're able to let it go, right? Last year we did a whole series on the Marie Kondo thing, right, KonMari. I know everyone's like, she's taking my books away, but calm down. She's not taking all your books away. A tiny Asian woman is not here to come get you. But I love the idea that she brought into our Western society, right? This idea of actually really looking at the world around us. Picking up the things in our life that we forgot were in the corner. Picking up the people and seeing them for who they really are. And then deciding, once we've been grateful and understood and see them, we can then decide what we want to do about it, right? Because I think so often we live in a denial mode, right? We do this, and we go, ugh. And that doesn't do any good. It doesn't get you anywhere you need to go. And instead you open yourself up and you go, God, I'm here, I'm ready for whatever you're going to do, show me the way. I think gratitude changes us, it changes the world. And I think we don't see that any more fully than when we see culture at its worst, right? With anger and complaining and pain. And again, pain is so difficult, right? Pain in the circumstances of life. In no way am I saying dig into pain, right? What I'm saying is you have two ways to respond when you are faced with difficulty. Two ways to respond. There's almost nothing else you can control about most situations. Two ways to respond. Either like this and shut down and say, maybe check out, do some things that check you out, right? We have struggling, many of us with addictions, do things to check us out, right? I'm not going to get in that. Or we can open our arms and say, I'm here, God, this is not fun. Show me the way. Show me the way. Show me the truth about this situation. Show me, as I'm grateful, I see what's really happening and what's really going on in whatever situation I'm in, right? And so I think what's interesting too is that the idea of gratitude, I was going to do a little word study with you. You're welcome. Gratitude comes from the Latin word gratus, not gratis, which is free, gratus, which it was basically a derivative of the word grace. right? So grace and gratitude are intimately linked. And grace is basically the unmerited favor of God. And so when we are grateful, when we choose to be grateful, even when it's difficult, there's something about the unmerited grace of God that lands upon the situation, that gives us eyes to see something new, that gives us a heart to understand a perspective that is not our own, right? It's God working. And so I think it's amazing to think about that we live in a world full of pain. And I am not belittling pain or saying that it doesn't exist or that it isn't difficult. But I think as we think through who we are as Christians, I want us to remind ourselves that we are far more powerful than we thought. We are far more powerful in this world than we thought. We can't necessarily change out there, but we can change in here. And changing in here changes everything, right? It changes everything. It gives you empathy. It gives you new eyes. It gives you new thoughts. It helps you see something that you didn't see before. It reminds you that that person that's annoying the junk out of you, not Roscoe, I'm looking at you, but you don't annoy me. I love you. That person is made in what? The image of God. And I am grateful for that person. Right? And so I think right now, if some of you find yourselves in a situation where maybe you're feeling a little pain, there's some change coming, there's some circumstances, you're like, I don't know what's going on, right? You're in a position where you're right now, as I've said this, you're thinking of a person or a situation, aren't you? A job or a situation or something going on. You're thinking of, oh, I can never be grateful for that. That is really hard, tough stuff, right? I want you to know that you can. You can be grateful for it. It doesn't mean that it sticks around. It doesn't mean that you don't walk away. It doesn't mean that you don't figure out how to manage that situation. What I'm asking you to do is see it first for what it is. And you can only do it with arms and eyes wide open to know how God is working in the middle of it. So, if you feel yourself complaining, we all do it, my challenge to you is instead of putting up your defenses, backing away, to do this, and to say, God, whatever you're going to do, show me the way. Whatever you want me to think or feel or understand about the situation, show me the truth of it. And I believe that if you do that, you will change everything you think about that person or situation. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to let it go. I won't sing the song. Or figure out a new way, or get a new job, or find a new relationship, or get a new friend. Things are for seasons, and that's okay. But I don't want you to do it to avoid pain. Oof. Let me say that again. I don't want you to make a decision out of a fear to avoid pain. Because sometimes that is what gets you where you need to go. What I'm saying is look honestly and soberly and spiritually at that situation, that pain, whatever that is, and let God give you eyes to see what is really there. That wasn't necessarily the sermon I had for tonight, but I think it's a sermon we need to hear tonight. That we need to see with new eyes, the eyes of God, and God tells us those eyes are called gratitude. That we look with grace upon ourselves, and we look upon grace upon other people and situations and circumstances, and we will change the world, at least for the people around us. And so what I'd like you to do as we end tonight is I want you to hold your hands like this, because I know that as you have been hearing this sermon, you've either been scrolling through Facebook or bored or reading a book, that's okay, or something came to mind. And you're kind of irritated at me, maybe. You're like, oof, she said that, didn't she? And I want you to see that situation right in here. It is a person, it is a friendship, it is a relationship, it is a situation, it is a job, it is a circumstance, it is a family member. I don't know what it is, but it's here. And I want you to see it, and I want you to go, God, show me the truth of it. Show me how to be grateful for it. Show me what I need to do to move forward. I don't want to move away from it unless that's what you want me to do. I want you to set me free. And I want you to open your hands up and say, it is yours, God. And who God has called free are free indeed. Amen.